And when we have someone in our homes, may be abusing us, hitting us, verbally speaking out against us, sometimes we have a tendency to want to hold it in. We want to just keep it quiet because we don't want anybody to know that this is going on in a Christian home. So as I did my research, first of all, I want you to listen to the scripture, Ephesians 5:22 and 23. This is what a lot of men, we don't bash men, not bashing men. I got a husband, been married now 48 years, love men. This scripture says, wives, submit yourselves to your own husband as you do to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, which he is the Savior. A lot of people take that, which is good. We are to be submissive to our husband, but there is some things that we do not have to live with. And one of those things is abuse. Spousal abuse is as common in church as it is in the world. 25% of Christian homes have witnessed some kind of abuse. I mean, don't tell me what it is. Raise your hand if you have witnessed some type of abuse. You know, we see it. We see it. And a lot of us hide it. And then what's the saying goes, whatever is done in the dark is going to come out in the light. And we see it on TV. I remember a famous preacher. We found out that she was being beaten by her husband. It came out, they was in the parking lot fighting. It was in the dark, but it came into the light. So they call this suffering in silence. Now you can be mentally abused, okay? You can be mentally abused. I'm a witness to that because for years I was mentally abused. I was told I was just trying to be belittled. And what it does, it affects your self-esteem. It makes you feel like you're not good enough. And sometimes I have witnessed it, that's more painful and more harmful than getting hit in the face with a fist. Yeah. Okay? Simply because with that type of abuse is imparted in your mind and it weighs on you. And it's a lifelong abuse. And it could have stopped 20 years ago, but something would trigger it and you would realize the thoughts come back and you go to a place. So that happens. So I want you to I just want to give you some information so you can be aware, you can watch your congregation and don't be ashamed if something like that's happening to you, something like that's happened to your friends, your loved one. Don't be ashamed simply because it's not your fault. Okay? It's not your fault. You are not doing it. And if you are doing it, then you need to get with someone because the perpetrator also needs help. Okay? We are the church and we are here to help the community. We are here to help the people. That's our job. All of us, we clergy are here. They come to us. They come to us expecting an answer, expecting a way out. And we need to give that to them. Okay? God gave us an assignment. When he called you people that's being paid, God called you. And he called you because he has something he wants you to do, and you're getting prepared to do it. And one of those things might be your friend might come out, somebody you don't know might come to you. You know what? Every night I go home, my husband's beating. And we need to know how to handle that. Okay? So I'll give you more information on what the church needs to do. Now, there was a survey. They talked to 6,000 pastors, 6,000, mind you, and they asked them, how would you counsel women who came to get help for domestic violence? You won't believe it. 20% told them that they would counsel them to be submissive to their husband no matter what. 26%. You stay there and you get beat because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to accept that. I mean, 25%. 20. But it's true. 25%, y'all. told the wives that the abuse was their fault because they were not submitting to their husband.
Wow.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Man. Yeah.
Pastors, those are the ones that's doing it.
And yeah, they're the ones doing it. A lot of as I studied this, I read where how a lot of the men, some women abuse men now. I know a lady that kind of do out your husband's job. You see her on the street. It's like, man. And but you know, a lot of people, they use the Bible as an excuse to beat their wives. And some of them use it as an excuse to kill their wives over other countries and stuff. You know, this stuff is real, and we as women, we got to help each other. But listen to this, 50% said women should be willing to tolerate some level of violence because it is better than divorce. I want to hear your opinion about this. Somebody talk to me about that.
Well, I disagree. I disagree with that. The Bible says we're supposed to live peaceful with all men. So if you're not living peacefully in your home, how you gonna adhere to what the Word of God is telling you to do? And I feel like no woman or man should tolerate abuse, because at the end of the day, you know, we are human, we all are human, but still, you do not have to tolerate that. I disagree with that 100%. I'm not gonna tell no woman to leave their husband. I'm not gonna tell no man to leave their wife. But in those instances, something has to be done about it. It has to be dealt with. You know, no matter what, nobody should be abused in that manner. So that's just my opinion. I don't agree with that.
I think a woman pastor's answer is going to be different from a male pastor's answer. I really do. I just.
And as I was reading this, they didn't say whether it was male or female, but how many of y'all think we pretty much know where this is coming in? Okay.
But my thought process is men also they want to use that section, you know, to be Lord over their wife, but there is also the scripture, because we love your wife as Christ loves the church. So, you know, not to go for tit for tat, but then that husband needs that counseling, that he's not loving his wife if he's laying hands on her right away, and that's not love. So I don't agree with that. I just would not be the one to sit and stay.
And I, as a pastor, I don't advise anyone to do that. I teach my people, yes, we need to be submissive to our husband as head of the house. Yes, love your husband, respect your husband, take care of your husband. A lot of young people will talk about me because I'm from old school. I believe going in the kitchen, cooking my husband dinner, fixing his plate, and taking it to him. I do that.
Right.
Okay? And I don't mind, it doesn't bother me. And we be at barbecues, I fix my husband's plate and I take it to him. Okay? That's hey, that's a good thing. And but some of the young people think, no, he can get up, he got feet, let him go get it on.
Well, they have lost, really, the younger generation has lost the value of honoring each other.
Right.
And that's what it comes down to. And I did the same thing for my husband, and you honor each other by doing it. And our love language, you know, my love language is giving, and my husband's love language is adoration. So it works, right? I'm giving him, you know, the attention and the adoration and the honor, you know, showing him how much, you know, we love him, that I love him. So, but the younger generation, they don't understand that, because it's a whole different mentality. So even in my household with my daughters, my 27-year-old will be 27 tomorrow, you know, I'm teaching her, mentoring her in that way, that now that you've come from this young girl who was all about hanging out and doing you and all of that, you're starting to feel and starting to see that you're growing up. And now it's time to change. There's a shift that's happening even in her own personality. So I'm trying to teach her now, you know, to prepare herself for that time when she's going to be a wife. I know that she's going to be a wife, but you know, you have to be ready to be a wife too. So a lot of that honoring, you know, each other comes along.
I like what you said, Mr. Deborah, about honoring each other. because I believe that for the flow, there should be a reciprocation.
Yeah.
So it's not me alone taking breakfast to you, but you also can do it sometime.
And you know, and that's true, because my husband cooked breakfast for me this morning. My husband cleans, my husband washes, my husband, he takes care of me like I take care of him.
Good. Reciprocation. Reciprocation, exactly.
Let me give you 5 myths. I got 15 minutes. I don't know how much time. Okay.
Yeah, about 4 minutes.
Oh, I got 4 minutes. Okay, let me rush and tell you. 5 myths. Oh no, let me tell you. I want to tell you what the church needs to do. Now, we talked about there's myths in the church. They feel like it doesn't happen in a Christian home, and it feels like it's the woman's fault. We talked about all that. But it also, we need to know what the church needs to do. What we need to do, we need to listen, and we need to validate. Sometimes people lie, let's tell the truth. So we need to listen, and then we need to validate to make sure that this is really happening, okay? And then we need to train our leaders in the church, train them, for them to recognize if something's going on. You can tell when something is going on. And then a lot of us have the spirit of discernment, you know. Learn, listen, let's provide resources. Give them some kind of help. I was praying to God last week. I fell short on something. And by the grace of God, the person didn't lose their life because I fell slack. Because I felt like sometimes you think you're overdoing. It's not what you really think you see. But you're actually seeing what you think you see because God shows you that. And so I've got in my mind now, if I think I see it, I'm going to work with it, okay? And save somebody's life, because we can find ourselves guilty because we didn't react, and we find out that person was killed last night, okay? Victims come to church for help. It's our responsibility to give them spiritual support, spiritual guidance, and also to help support the perpetrator. The perpetrator needs help.
Yeah.
Okay, they need help too, because hurt people.
That's
okay?
right.
And I've learned that I'm a life coach, but I know I can only go so far. And when it gets to the point where I know I can't handle this, I prefer them to a psychiatrist. You need to go get some more help than I can give you. And we need to get with them, walk with them. I'm walking with this person through a process. Walk with them so they can get to the point where they can take care of themselves. Break the silence. Break the silence. Use social media as Pastor Shane was talking about social media. It's a vital part of our life, our church life. We can use social media to raise awareness about violence against women. We don't need to hide anymore. We need to promote programs and do training shops. If we see this as a necessity within our church, within our community, then we need to teach people and reach out and help and donate things to shelters. Right. These are some people like, I tried many times to get into this shelter, the shelter that you can't get, Hubbard House. Mm-hmm. I never could get in there. But some places you're not gonna be able to just get into and to go and minister and whatever, but offer blankets, towels, personal items, and food. Do that. Offer that. Let's do something as a church. Last thing, Psalms 32 says, "When I kept silent, my bones wasted away through my groaning all day long." Verse 8, "I will instruct you." This is God talking to that abused person. "I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my loving eyes on you. Do not be like the horse and mule, which have no understanding, but must be controlled by bit and bridle, or they will not come to you. Many are the ways of the wicked, but the Lord's unfailing love surrounds the one who trusts in him." We have to trust God, even if we find ourselves in an abusive relationship. We got to trust God and know that He's there. And I have a website. It should be on on those handouts I gave you. It's www.ncadv.org. And Domestic Violence Awareness Month is in October. So let's stop being silent, break the silence, help your friend. Amen.
Amen. You know what I want to say about that real quick? I find a lot of women who are in that situation, they're in it for a long time.
Yes.
And they come to church, they dress it up, the husband and wife, they know how to play the game.
Yeah.
And then there'll be all kind of stuff going on. And this is one of those subjects that's really challenging as pastors in the church, because you might discern it, you might see it, but a lot of times the woman might be in denial about it, or she's in fear, you know. But I've seen there's been a lot of women who have lost their life.
Yes.
By the time they come to you, they got beat up, almost down to the ground, almost lost their life, and they running out the house with the clothes on their back with the kids.
Right.
You know, it's how do we get them to before it get to that point? You know, I've even seen young people now, it's not even husband and wife, it's these little boyfriends and girlfriends. And if he can't have you, he gonna shoot you, you know, and that's on the rise. It is even with the young teenagers. So that's real warfare right there. That's very real warfare, because you got so much stuff going on.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can't just jump into somebody else's marriage or somebody else's relationship.
Right.
So it's mostly like having to befriend this person, like be kind to them. And people, I learned that people will talk to you.
Yes.
You just open the door for them.
Yeah.
And that's what we do.
But a lot of women will not tell you
That's
that they get going. So many women do not. My friend didn't tell me. My friend's husband used to be a pastor. She said he used to preach on Sunday, come home and beat her when they got home.
Yeah.
Every Sunday.
Yeah.
And she did something through that for years. Most women are not gonna, it's not, hey, I'm getting beat by my man. They're not gonna, they just don't do that. It's very, and she had to leave because she knew she was gonna lose her life eventually.
And I think we should, like your last point, support these organizations that are already up and running. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's a delicate
Yeah.
situation. So we render our support, not only in October, whenever, you know, the Hubbard House, the Battered Women, we need to support these organizations and pray that God would unveil, because a lot of pastors, male pastors, abuse their wife, not only physically, but mentally, sexually, emotionally. It's a lot. And even in my prayers, my prayer time, that has been prevalent in my spirit. Abuse by these are pastors, not just lay members, pastors. And not only that, pornography. And they want to make them do all that stuff they done saw in pornography. And when they don't do it, they want to be them. So it's a delicate thing, but prayer, we need to pray that. And I went to Hubbard House last year, I think their thing, and one of the ladies had said that she got away, but so many don't. They kill them before they let them go. So it's an awful situation, so we just have to be prayerful and donate and help support those that are up and running. You know, we never really think about it until it's that month when we hear about it, but it's going on 365 days a year.
That's right.
And thank you, Pastor Baker, for bringing this up, because I think this is it's a subject that's hard to talk about. And we have to realize as ministers the responsibility that we have, because it's not okay. Abuse is never acceptable.
Never.
And the lie that a lot of the women hear is that they made him do it. They made him angry, and that's why he hit me. Or, you know, they think they're to blame.
It's their fault.
And so they hold back because they think they're to blame for it. And if they were just nicer, this wouldn't happen. And we all know that's a lie. And so we have to be vigilant, and we also have to be discerning and move on it, because we can't get in fear where I can't approach that woman because I might be wrong. And this is something we teach with the sex trafficking. Is if you think something, then say something. If there's even the slightest chance you're right, then you could save somebody's life. So it's better to say something and confront the issue and be wrong than not to say anything at all.
Like,
Yeah.
and like
Real
Pastor
deep.
Wise, like you
Yes.
said, you know, it's even the abuse even going on with the unmarried.
Yeah.
You know, the young teenagers and stuff. There's a lot of that going on. Kids involved, and it's a lot, and it's just it's crazy. Like, wow.
But that's why the church got a whole life workshops for the young ladies to do something to let them know, hey, this is your work. This is, you know, sometimes young women go through that because they don't know. Nobody's told them, hey, you're beautiful. You don't have to smack in your face. You know?
You just led me into what I was thinking to say something, because I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna say something, I'll say something. That's something that we're honing in on at our church with our young girls. And we're having a sleepover with 5 of our preteen young teens. And that's one of the topic matters that I'll be talking with them about. And it's about relationship, because you can't just jump right into their relationships or their marriage or whatever the case is. Even young people, they don't want you to just start asking them questions, you know, and who are you seeing and what are you doing? You know, you're virginity. You don't want, they're gonna shut down. So how do we get to a point where they'll open up? We have to establish relationship. And with loving kindness, Jesus drew us. So we have to show them that loving kindness, doting on our young people, acknowledging that our young ladies are valuable and they have worth. And not just to say, yeah, you're valuable and you have worth, you know, you're pretty, but how do you do that? It's with our presence. You know, our presence is a present. You know, just coming up to someone and just sitting there and just, it could be something so simple, but just acknowledging that person, you know, I missed you, or I'm so glad to see you, or we had a young lady, and we're mentoring her, and she did a dance, and just to let her know, you really ministered to my heart, you know, you really, I saw you, you know, not just good job, you know, but I saw that value, and that you really ministered to that, and she's like, thank you, and then I'm like, no, really, you ministered to my heart, you really touched me, and so just that moment to let her know just how valuable what her gifting was, you know, just ignite something in them. And so that's where we're at with our young women, to let them know it's valuable, because we don't know.
Yes.
We don't know what relationship they're gonna walk into in a year from now, and whether or not they're gonna be caught up in the enemy's snare, because what happens with these young men, you know, they draw them in with, you know, you're cute, you know, and they tell them everything that they may not be hearing from somebody else, or their parents, or maybe they don't have a father in their life, or maybe the father doesn't have time. So how do we get their attention? We have to give them love and attention. You know, healthy love.
And teach them young boys too.
Yeah.
They need to be taught too.
So we have men's mentoring going on now. We got
They need to be taught.
young kids. I don't know what happened.
Because the truth is,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
and we're
a lot of them
doing
don't
that
know how to treat
too, you know?
Yeah.
a girl, you know, they don't, because they didn't get it at home.
because often what we do, even as parents, we train our daughters, but we bring up our sons.
Yeah.
And that's an issue right there. Because we don't instill and impart the same things in our boys that we do in our girls.
We have a mission. We're making a difference. We're called the difference makers for a reason, because it's our young women and our young men. That's right. And then if we teach them who they connect to at school and how they, like you say, I'm gonna bring that up with the social media. You know, our young people have our young ministry is Young Believers Living for Christ.